everyone. We are combining the last two panel discussions into one, where I would be honored to moderate it for our honorable guest speakers. And the question that we are going to start talking about, and maybe I will take a first shot at it, is what is the nature of trending technologies' impact on the future of universities? And the second question, does the world need a global academic community? We started today, myself maybe and Esra, and to some extent everyone talked about the global academic community. Do universities need to join their efforts together? Do they need to address common questions and common challenges together or not? These are going to be the discussion of this afternoon. I will try my best to engage the floor with the guest speakers so that we can have kind of a live discussion between both sides of this stage. And hopefully by the end of this panel discussion, we can reach some kind of an understanding of where universities would head in the next period. And I guess more importantly for me, what you expect from a Smart University Foundation, what can we do to achieve some of the interests and aspirations that we as a global community of academicians need or look forward to see in a foundation. As you all know, with us, Mr. Moataz Eldahshory, he is the media director of the Smart University Foundation. He's been working in the media field for the past 20 years in the TV and social networks. And we are very fortunate to have him with us. He will speak a little bit today, and maybe I will start with you. You started this day by saying that you believe that the media is going to have an important impact on universities. Are we thinking from the area of technology or thinking from the area of the pure media?
First of all, I'm saying that they should. Media should affect the university. University should deal with media in a different way from that happening. I can start with introducing, as we are in Turkey, I think we can meet our little princess here. This is Alif. I don't know if you know Alif or not, but I think most of you does.
Who's Alif?
Yeah, Alif is a public figure. Alif is a big star on YouTube in Turkey.
How old is she?
She's 9 years.
9 years old.
Oh, she's 7.
7 years old.
Yeah, she's 7 years. She joined YouTube, as I read, on March 2016, 3 years ago. And now she has 4,79 million views on YouTube.
4 billion?
Views.
4 billion?
4 billions, not millions.
Milliard?
Yeah.
Views.
She has been viewed 4.7 billion times. I don't know how many professor has been seen 4 million times, not billion.
I mean,
with all the knowledge.
All the academic people are dealing in the thousands, not in the millions.
It's not only about professor, but also about universities, with all the knowledge and experience.
Why is she so famous? Why?
Why is she so famous?
Yes.
She introduces something entertaining. People loves her. That's all. That's all what you need. You need. She's going something that's attractive to people. Maybe sometimes she's not adding a lot to our lives, but she has viewers. If we
How is this would relate to universities?
That's where we should be. As a university and as a professor, this is your place. Lots of people in Turkey and everywhere in the world are very effective. They are affecting our society, but they don't have enough experience, they don't have knowledge, they don't have wisdom. They just add things to the people. So if our professors or our universities join the real media, join the media in a good way, they can really affect the future.
But you put the picture of Alif because you said she's entertaining people. Let me ask Esra, as a former rector, as an active academician, should the professor be an entertainer?
It's difficult to answer because, as you know, I mean, as lecturers, teachers, sometimes you should entertain your students to take attraction. Sometimes you should give some important information just to attract their attention. But I think you know, all these kinds of social media figures, you know, YouTubers, bloggers, are somehow is so much related with the nature of the game. So I don't think that any profs or any academician have less effect on society because they don't have enough viewers, right? So
should they worry about viewers?
No.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't worry about the viewers in a way, because, I mean, this is a domino effect. Our students, we are just giving our lectures to our students. I mean, then our students somehow deal with some other people. So, I mean, viewing something is not something that is affected from the whole situation. So I don't think that it's a measurement of effect directly. And, you know, maybe we can just see the situation from another side. Even all of us has lectures, right, in history. And most of them, I watched TEDx conferences related with teaching and learning. So, and I also heard this topic there, just discussing the image of lecturer and teacher, right? So, I mean, even from the very beginning, I mean, we are not very entertaining figures in media as well, in social media, in movies, you know, that kind of activity. So we are generally defined as boring, you know, knowing lots of things, could not convey the things that we know. But we have some, you know,
narrow mind
glasses. So, I mean,
yes.
So that's why, I mean, from the very beginning, we start the game a little bit behind, because if you are a lecturer, this is some sort of an hierarchical type of relationship. So it is from the very beginning that you feel yourself as a lecturer, and students feel a little bit, you know, less interested in what you are saying.
One of our guests, I think, mentioned earlier today that getting a PhD does not prepare you for the teaching job. It's two different things. You get a PhD, that means you have done a lot of research. It doesn't prepare you automatically to become a good storyteller. And we are living in a world today where they call it post-truth world. Mm-hmm. Everything is about narratives. Mm-hmm. It's about stories. It's about storytelling. And I witnessed as a student first, undergraduate in Egypt, and then a graduate student in the United States, and also as a professor in the United States, that the more stories you tell, the more you engage people in whatever you're trying to get across to them. So even though I agree with Esra that maybe we shouldn't worry much about viewership, but we should worry a lot about our style of giving the knowledge that we have across. We living in a world where storytelling is becoming extremely important. And I think we need to also address that and adapt to it, because without convincing people of what we got, we're missing the whole point.
Yeah, that's true. That's why from the very beginning, I said that we are a little bit entertainers as well. So we are dealing with a new generation. They're expecting something different from you. You have to know all the serials that are that the TVs has. They try to talk to you about these serials. You have to know new pop singers, for example, just to talk to them. So you have to know some of the computer games just to talk to them. So you have to have common understanding of life, and you have to update yourself for various reasons.
And I'll come back to you, Moataz, but I wanted to bring Jeanne into the picture, because a professor now is not only talking to the classroom. She mentioned today the word MOOC, and I think some of our audience didn't understand what MOOC is. And that's very important to understand, that the professor of tomorrow, or today actually, is not only talking to people in the classroom. They could be talking to the world. So it has to be addressed. I mean, how do you, first of all, how would you define for us MOOCs, and how it relates to this discussion?
Okay. First of all, a MOOC, M-O-O-C, it means massive, open, online courses. I repeat, massive, open, online courses. Massive because, in fact, it is a course developed by a university in cooperation with a commercial company that is in fact delivering the services of putting the course online and creating all services around that content, around that course of the university. Even or these companies are organizing special activities so that after a test, the student or the learner in general can receive a kind of diploma. But this diploma is, of course, a private diploma and is not accepted by the universities. Okay?
How many people could be in a MOOC?
Well, in fact, the first word, the M, massive, it means that there is no limit on the number of students following this course. So all people all over the world can have access to such a MOOC course. More, it is indeed free. You can enter in the MOOC. The MOOC is, as what I told you already, a course from one university, okay? But you can enter the course free. You can go through the course. It's only when you want to have a certificate that, of course, you must do the tests and you must pay for it.
So the system is basically, again, flipped. So you attend the course for free, but if you want to have the certification, you pay.
Yeah.
And you can imagine that some of these courses, one instructor is teaching 70,000 and 80,000 students at one time.
Yeah, okay, but that certificate, that's now the problem.
That's a certificate, yes.
A certificate. So that is now the problem, even if it is a course from MIT, for example, and my university will not accept that certificate as equal to the credits of our own university. So that is the problem, but for the moment there is an evolution. Some universities are creating their own MOOC, again in cooperation with the same services organizations. And in that case, it is possible to have or to receive the credits from the university. So there is some evolution in using MOOCs, even if the MOOCs are from other universities. So there is an evolution for the moment.
Okay, let me bring Anke into the picture. As an outsider into the current academic day-to-day work, how do you see this discussion about the media and its impact on universities?
Of course there is an impact, but while I was listening to the two of you, or three of you, I thought, no, I'm not in for this Disneyland. I think one has to me, the main obligation for a university is to moderate what can be transferred into media and what cannot. So, speaking as a linguist, there's no such sexy thing about particles. It's completely boring. And I do not know how to make it interesting. So either you love it or you don't. And, but I also think, or I would be largely against transforming every good professor into a good entertainer. Yes. That's two different things. And therefore, I think, so the burden is very, very much, as we have heard today in many aspects, on the administration of a university, what they would like to encourage, also to have their little entertainment stars. Is that for like a subject ambassador? I'm just making up this word. I do not know whether this exists. And then there is other things, which is research, which is boring. I mean, it's interesting when you do it, but this is not for everybody. It's just for people who are really already in that subject. Mm-hmm. But I think, so because everybody at the end of the day will be evaluated, be it for publications, be it for how you do your teaching, I think it is up to the university, and it's hard work. Yes. To find a good system, how to credit both the good, boring researcher and the good, wonderful entertainer. And I think that's my view as an outsider.
Yeah. So if we go back to you, Moataz, before we leave this topic, if the professor should not necessarily worry too much about being an entertainer, is the media, when you talked about the media and its impact on university, are there any other areas where you think that the university is in need of the media?
Yeah, I just mentioned Alif, and numbers just drew your attention. I didn't mean that professor needs to be an entertainer.
Okay.
This first of all, so you know.
That's a withdrawal.
No, it's not about this. You know, there is a share in the market.
Okay.
If you are talking about YouTube, we have a billion views every day.
1 billion.
1 billion views.
Okay.
So where is our share of this?
The university.
Yeah.
How the university can take advantage of the current revolution in media? In which areas?
We can take an example, right, like research.
Yeah, Anke just said the boring research. How media can help in that?
You know, we have a lot of researches doing in the university every day.
Yes. We
have great results, but most of people don't hear about this. Great research, great patents, a lot of news, good news that don't go out to the society. So people, maybe some of these projects stay on the shelves because nobody knows about it. So in this aspect, media can help very much about this. We can take a share of the media market to announce our projects, our patents, our boring stuff in a good way. That's my point. My point was not to be entertainer instead of being a professor.
And sometimes in crisis management, over lunch, one of our friends was mentioning to us, he's from one of the universities that got affected by the earthquake, the recent earthquake in Istanbul, where some of the buildings are not usable nowadays because of the situation. This is called crisis management. And if the university can take an advantage of a crisis to inform the public about some of its activities or protect its name from being entangled in negative news, I think that the media is extremely powerful and important, and to a large extent, every university will be exposed to some negative news one day or another, and also will be exposed to or entertain some good news one day or another. And one of the things I found out that you go to many of the Turkish university websites, you will not find an area, it's a very common area in any organization called the press releases, where you have the news of the university written by the university, ready to go for the journalists. So if I'm a journalist, I go to the press releases page on University A and immediately see the news. And if something relates to me, I can pick up the news and immediately put it as a news item. When you are not in the news, actually you are not there in the society. That's the reality of the situation nowadays with media. So yes, maybe the professor should not be an entertainer, even though I believe that every person who is trying to convince anyone with anything is an entertainer in a way, starting from your ability to convince your own kids of something. You're going to have to entertain, and you're going to have to talk seriously, you're going to have to narrate, you're going to have to do all of these kind of things. It's a talent that we all need to have. And I don't think that media awareness is becoming, or media effectiveness or media understanding is a luxury anymore. I think it is needed for anyone working in this world nowadays. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct, of course. And you were talking about press releases and reading news. I worked in media. So people of media, editors, some of them, maybe most of them, all the time they are looking for news. So sometimes you don't have any good news or bad news or whatever. So you go directly to the place where they can offer you news. So when you have some news, you need. I think that university needs a media manager.
A media
manager, media director. Every university should have a media director. His work is not related to public, to PR. It's about communicating and networking with the media. He must know everyone working in media, in every channel, every news, every newspaper, everywhere. So when the time comes and the university needs to publish, if there is a story, a bad story, you were talking about bad stories about places, crisis management. If you didn't manage the story, people will tell something else. You have your side of the story. It is a narrative.
Let me ask Esra, as a former rector who just left probably 2 or 3 months ago.
2 months ago.
Number one, do you have a media director in the university? Did you have a media director in the university? And number two, did you really face any real crisis or any good news that you needed the world to know about, and media was important for you at that time?
Yes, definitely. Most of the universities, including our university, has a media director. I mean, the names are or labels are different, but they are responsible for dealing with media.
What could be
media
other
channels.
titles?
Sorry?
What could be other titles? Yeah.
I mean, most of them are under PR department, so it's one of the section dealing with all these media relations. I mean, this is an interesting and tricky thing, what you are asking, because, you know, while we are talking about media, new media, you know, all these things, or social media, it's double-sided, negative and positive news. So sometimes, I mean, there may be some other competitors who are creating some negative news about your university. I mean, so these things are also on your agenda, just to deal with all these bad news and whether they are true or not. You know, you're checking all these. Definitely, all these media departments just go through all of these news and try to pick up, and if there's any answer to be given, then they answer. If there's something related with law issue, then they answer. So this is something good and bad news at the same time. The second thing that I mean, I don't think that any university has a difficulty in getting in touch with media in any way. So if you really want to publish something related with something useful for public and for your university, I don't think that I never had any problems in getting into media channels in this sense. So, I mean, again, this is the mentality transformation. I'm always coming to this point, but you have to understand the necessity of it. You have to convince all of the staff at the university, including the academics, the necessity of that kind of relations, publishing. I mean, we are using mostly websites as our informative sites. I mean, not directly use the nationwide media. We are using social media, just promoting our things that we do. We are using Twitter much more serious events to be shared. And we're just trying to check the expectations from, you know, our stakeholders, what they expect from us to publish. So this is a tricky issue, and definitely, as many other things, it has to be taken seriously. And, you know, while we are talking about media and all these different sectors, we should also be aware that all these sections somehow know the sector itself. So, for example, like this. If you bring someone who works before with a company, but put it then into university's news department, whatever it is, then it may not work because of different experiences. So then there should be an experience working with the university, because university image something else, and they
training.
Yeah. Trained in this area, because, you know, I mean, then it comes, I mean, the discussions comes related with bloggers, you know, YouTubers and everything. And then seriousness is on one side, yes, related with universities. And expectations of students are totally different. Expectations of the families of the students are totally different. So this is a very difficult equilibrium, how you develop your image and how you manage your relations with the media.
Okay. And that's probably, you know, you are confirming the idea of Moataz that there should be a specific training for media professionals within universities to address this kind of equilibrium. I have to ask Anke a question. Is publishing an academic venture or a media venture?
I think
we will take some questions from the floor after this.
I think, to me, publishing is, it's just a floor to
platform.
It's a platform for the findings of academics.
But today, when you were talking in your presentation, you stressed on the number of downloads,
Yes.
the number of citations, the
Yes.
number of... So that's Aleph. That goes back to Aleph. You know?
Yes, but in the first place, we are not doing the job. It's you you are doing the, you, the researchers, it's their finding, it's their brain. And we are just a medium. And then, our obligation is to boost it in the best possible way.
So how do you define your enterprise? Is it in the academia field or the media field?
It's in the media field.
Okay, that's a good admission.
Yes.
So if you have any question about this issue that relates to media in universities, I think it is time to ask it right now because we're going to move into the trending technologies. So any question, any comment about what we just said? So Anas, can you pass the microphone?
No, thank you. I think I can handle it.
Okay.
I would like to share, first of all, thank you all.
Can you please introduce yourself also?
I'm Jeanne. I'm a lecturer at Istanbul University, Istanbul University and Prof University.
Okay.
I had been worked for the universities for 14 years.
Huh.
And I had done also operational things and academic things also. I have lots of hundreds of questions about this subject because we have to firstly define today's universities and define, as Esra told, Professor Esra told, today's terms and relate a bit after that
Yes.
tomorrow. First of all, you told the social media and the media today. You are giving examples of Elif and etc. But as we know, nothing will be same as the media in 10 years time, 20 years time. So we will not see the same media for our children. So there will be much more individualized. There will be much more new areas that we cannot predict right now. But the thing is, the important thing is the relationship between the governance in politics and international relations for the politics and the governance of corporate governance. The principles, basic principles of it, for example, transparency for the companies.
Ethics.
Talked about the social responsibility, but she mentioned that maybe one step after, we can say that some companies make social responsibility projects for only being perceived as they are caring about the social responsibility project or
Okay.
the community.
So,
So the problem is, first of all, the governance, political and corporate governance,
Okay.
all the principles between those relationships, and the second one is the individualism. All the things gonna be for the individual at the end. The love for the individual, the artificial intelligence for the individual, myself, yourself, everyone, one by one. The politics for individuals. All the
and university need to take this into account.
yes,
Okay. Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions? Yes, please. Yeah, we can send you a mic. And you can come closer also so we can... Yeah, can you come this way so we can
Sure.
see? Yeah, okay. And please introduce yourself.
I am Abdullahi Uba from Kadir Has University. I'm a postdoctoral researcher there. It is just an observation I want to make. Regarding the issue of involvement of universities with the media, I have one observation to make. Actually, the research we are conducting at the university, we're doing them to improve the quality of people's life. So people should know that. Instead of using this academic language, which only academic can understand, we can break it down to their level to use clear, precise, easily understandable language so the common man can understand the finding. Like in the field of life sciences, we can share the findings that can improve people's lives, how to stay safe, how to stay clean, and those that do research in physical sciences, they also have their shared their work to do. Those that are professors of environment, they can tell people how to stay safe. There was earthquake recently. Professors can use plain language to tell people how to stay safe, where to stay when there is earthquake, and other things.
So you're talking about the professor in the classroom or the professor in the world life?
The professor,
when they talk in the media?
Yes.
When they talk to the media, you say they talk in a high level?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are talking in a high level. Use plain language and share your finding to the common man. That's what I'm suggesting.
Yes. And that goes back to what Esra was saying, that it's not something that you can be just gifted in it. It needs a lot of training and preparation. And that goes along with what Moataz is saying, that the future would need media training for professors because the society depends on them. When the earthquake hits Istanbul, we suddenly saw all those professors talk to us on the TV, and some of them are scaring us, some of them are ridiculing us, some of them are not knowing what they are talking about. And there were very, very good people. But in the midst of all of this, I am sure that there were real experts that did not make it to the media. And that's a responsibility of universities and also for individuals.
Exactly.
So I agree with you
point.
that when the professors go to the TV, it's not the classroom. It's a completely different venture, and they need to be trained for it. And there is only one way to deal with it, is media training. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Any other questions or comments? We'll take you as the last one, so we can go into the next part.
I'll just share my thoughts on the thought-provoking.
Can you introduce yourself first?
My name is Festus Victor. I'm a current faculty member at Istanbul University, Faculty of Business. I'm going to share my thoughts on the question you raised. Does the world needs a global academic community? I'm going to be indifferent. Why I'm indifferent? Yes, because there is this popular cliche we say that the world is a global village and the internet is the market square. And one of the speakers said that we are all living in a connected world. So like he made a very spectacular example where a young lad has that much views and all that. So, and as academics, I remember during the process of acquiring my degrees, there were some times I didn't follow up what the professors were saying in class. I had to source materials from the internet, from the YouTube videos. So at some point there should be the shift of ground that we need these internet facilities and all of that. And no, while I said no, because every university as its may has its own peculiarity. You made the example about visiting a local school back in, I think, Malaysia, right?
Malaysia,
yes. Every university has like one of the former rector said, has its own obligations and has a role to play. You said something striking for me, that without that university, that community is like a crap, if I can use that word.
It loses a lot.
Yeah, it loses a lot. It's like a light to that place. So no, in terms of being uniform or being central in terms of knowledge base, I mean universities being centrally placed, has its own bias by losing that. Every university has its peculiarity, has its uniqueness. Harvard is known as Harvard because of its unique qualities it brings to the table, relative to the other probably less ranked universities for obvious reasons we know. So they will have their own peculiarity, and they will serve the local community probably quite differently. And the whole essence is to build future leaders and that can replicate and make the world a better place. That's just my thought on all of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We go back to Jeanne. You mentioned the MOOC as one of the new trends in the technology impact on universities. You mentioned also at the beginning of your presentation that you have worked most of your life in the digital learning. How do you see the impact of technology on the future of universities?
Thank you, because I was waiting to tell something. Because we are, in fact, for the moment in education, thinking about transfer to digital learning. That's, in fact, the topic. And why are we thinking about this? That's because we know that our students, or learners in general, are in fact living in a digital world. It means they have their own ways of communication, digital communication. They have their own ways of finding knowledge, finding information, again, digital ways, digital facilities, okay? So we have to transfer our learning, our traditional learning, to digital learning. Another point is that there are other reasons why we introduce digital learning. A problem, if I have 1 minute, for international students, yeah, who want to participate in another country in a curriculum, in a study program, they have to move to that country. In some countries, it's very difficult. So those students are limited because they cannot take that international course or program in that other country. And then, of course, it's very important to think about how can we digitalize this study program so that we can open it also for other international students, otherwise having not the possibility to participate. So what I want to tell you is that you may not start from, okay, we have the digital facilities. The digital facilities, all this media, is fantastic. We must use them in education. No. You must start from problems from education that you experience and then go to find out what media are appropriate to introduce to solve my problems.
So the tools are not before the purpose. The purpose is before the tools.
That's
an excellent point.
Yeah, this is my vision on this point.
That's an excellent
And
point.
if you ask me about the MOOCs, well, in fact, MOOCs can be, not or, but can be a solution if we want to digitalize some courses or part of our courses. That is the new trend. We will not replace our courses by MOOCs, but we will implement the MOOCs. The MOOCs are in fact micro-learning modules, as I explained you. Well, we try to introduce MOOCs as part of our courses, and then we can accept micro-credentials, and this is acceptable for universities. So we can introduce MOOCs into our courses, but not to replace the courses. We did some research on this, and we had, as a result of this research, was that the management and the professors didn't agree with replacing courses. Because, and the main reason was that the MOOC courses are not really equal to their own courses. It is very difficult for a professor to accept another course, a MOOC course, to replace it. So again, by doing it and by introducing my model that I introduced at the end of my presentation, where you can bring in micro modules, MOOCs, into your learning program, into your module, then of course you can solve the problem of these international students. This is my answer.
And I think it is a very important point. But before we go, and you mentioned a very powerful statement when you said that the tools should never override the purposes. And that brings me into a point that I would like to share, is that when we start naming learning as if there is something new happening, so we say digital learning and e-learning and so on and so forth, and people talk about the changes in how we learn as if this is something new that is happening in our generation. Humanity changed their learning patterns from the beginning, from Adam and Eve time until now, based on the effectiveness. Whatever an effective way of learning was, it was the technology of the day. So there is nothing really new in our lives nowadays in terms of, we are now learning in a different way. We always learned in a different way. At one time, it was people trying to even speak. We created as human beings language so that we can learn. We can learn from one another, and we can learn from everything around us.
Especially that we are in fact connecting with each other and we are learning from each other. And indeed, also the old methods, well, okay, they don't disappear. I still believe in Plato.
Of course. And there is nothing called book learning. There is learning. At one time, we learned from books. Now we learn from the internet. Tomorrow, like what my friend said, we don't know what we're going to learn from. 10 years ago, who could have imagined that, the students would be much faster in getting knowledge than their professors? I am from a generation where the professor was almost God.
Yes.
He knows everything. He knows technology. When I was young...
But this is not learning. That is using tools.
Yes.
Learning is always the same.
Yes. So, I don't know if, if I ask, we go back to Esra, is technology in your situation, in your experience as a rector and also in your experience as a professor, is technology helping, or it is to some extent hindering the process of education? I'm talking specifically about Turkey, about 2 years, this year, 2019. I'm not talking about an abstract. No.
I think from the very beginning, we are just trying to predict, which is unpredictable. So all these things, try to predict definitely, and we are talking about post-truth, and we are even questioning the truth, and yes. All these discussions. That's why we have so many different, diverse vision about the future of universities, plus the usage of technology, because definitely, we have to be practical and just to adapt ourselves to the daily changes, right? And if we are dealing with a group of students who really claim that they are belonging to different nations, different generations, and they are expecting us to do such things, then we have to modify our tools. Because when you go to the classroom, you see at least 50% of the students dealing with their mobile phones than listening to you. So, it means that you have to include somehow their tools into your teaching materials, right? Just to take their attention. But definitely I believe that in many students' eye, professor is still professor, and it's very valuable because, I mean, whatever the machine is there, if there is no one who can lead, if there is no one who can be able to use these machines, and who can just talk to them, can understand their feelings, you know, if they don't see any lecturers who are working, right? Machines cannot do such things. Technology is always there, but they really like to see you working, see you just speaking, see you just reading, and taking great pleasure from studying, right? You are a role model for them. You are a mentor. So technology definitely is needed, even for now, because you have to show. I mean, this is also another thing that make you different from other competitors.
What challenges do you face as a university leader in applying technology?
First of all, I mean, infrastructure is very expensive. It's not very easy to create a smart campus without real investment.
So
right?
money.
Money is one of the most important things because technology is not only expensive itself, but it is changing so quickly. So you have to sustain all these daily changes. Second thing is just to prepare everyone to have a different type of education and tools to convince
so people
them.
Resisting change.
People resisting change. Because you have to train the trainers as well in this digital system.
What else?
I mean, as far as I can see. And the other thing, maybe the last thing that I may say, you should just. Because, you know, if you apply a smart campus, everybody thinks that, as you said in your introduction speech, everybody expects the university to be smart the next day.
Yeah.
So this is a different type of perception. That's why maybe it's very important to change this perception, because what makes a university smart or digital is the inclusion of all the stakeholders. I mean, who can use this technology, who can, for their benefit. I mean, technology is something can be which is not reachable as well. So you just buy computers, put there, nobody is using it, done.
Yeah. So I'll go to Anke first and then Moataz. But Anke, the name of your corporation has the word tech in it. Is it possible to do what you do right now if technology is not around?
No, zero.
Okay.
No, I think.
Do you see the technology impact on your business, day-to-day business, as significant or trivial?
No, it's very significant, and also I very much agree with Esra. Whatever you digitally is so much more expensive than people think if you want to do it in a good way. So my example from the presentation, the good old library is a wonderful place, and in fact it's very inexpensive because it holds the books for 500 plus years and you can still read them. And if you're lucky enough, you have a good archivist, and that person pulls you out the right book in the right place and opens you even the right page. So if you do that with digital material, you have to invest a lot that you can ensure the same quality from now in, let's say, in 2030. It's very, very expensive. Plus, I mean, all these wonderful tools which I introduced, all of them you have to license. So publishing, and so I like to share always anecdotes with everybody because they are telling something. So I work with foundations, those who support science in general and publications, and they want to discuss the weight of the page or of the paper.
The actual weight.
The actual weight. And I just looked at them and said, can you please discuss with me the excellency of the digital product? Because they think, ooh, you know, but everything which is in the internet is free, which is, of course, not right, as we know. But so they place what they would, let's say, donate to publish a research study on the weight of the paper. But this is not the quality. So the quality in the digital age is, can I find it? And can I preserve it? Can I archive it in a way? Can I make it accessible?
And let me ask you this, just for the curiosity.
Who was it?
No, not who was it. I mean, whoever, this foundation that wanted to connect the funding to the weight of paper, is that in the West?
It is very much in the West. And it is very much industrial, and it's very much German.
Oh, okay, very much German, so you don't have to specify the country this way. Okay, but this is how the world is. Sometimes we make certain assumptions that the world is so advanced until we are hit with a reality. I was saying earlier that yesterday I was talking to Esra, and she was mentioning to me about people signing, students signing, in order to prove that they are here. I was stunned today, like maybe just an hour ago, and myself and Moataz, when one of our guests also wanted a signature that he is attending this event. And it's not because he's from a Turkish university. No, he's from also another part of this industrial world. So sometimes we think that technology is so spread and so good and so strong that we are already past this stage. It's such an unbelievable thing that sometimes when you start asking questions and learning from people, that you find that we still have a long way to go in terms of technology, and a long way to go in terms of mindsets of people, because technology will not function if the minds are still living in a different era or a different mindset. So I think that Moataz had something to say, but
just one more anecdote, because I also think it can work the other way around. So everybody knows what technology and digitization can do.
Yes.
So let's say you have a mathematics paper and you have graphs or you have formulas. Brilliant. So you think, so of course, I mean, people think, oh, I do not only want to quote this paper, I would like to quote this graph. And this is a huge task, because then you have to drill down with if you're lucky, you have XML files, and then you have to put a DOI on each graph. So currently I'm in the process of looking for roughly 150,000 pounds to go through all the materials we have in order to do that.
Identify the graphs.
I mean anything, just to make it more searchable. So, and then sometimes I think people ignore, I mean, with people I also mean academics or librarians or, I mean, everybody, I mean, some stakeholders, and they're so surprised that there's a cost involved, because the perception is, yeah, everything is free. But it's not. It's really, really, really expensive.
Okay, Moataz, and then I will come to you, Jeanne.
I just need to talk about 2 points we mentioned here. The first one, as Professor Esra was talking about, professor is the only element that you can never remove from the teaching process.
Yes. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
So we're needed.
Yeah, since how can I say it, wooden age that you can need, radio time, television time, digital time. It's always you can never remove professor from the teaching element.
Yes.
So this is very important. Our media is just a tool. It doesn't remove professors. That's why we are thinking. We have an initiative I will talk about later. It's about media directors. One of the first goals is to empower professor to do his role in the life.
Second.
We were talking. I want to tell you a story. You were talking today about knowledge. Now you were talking about knowledge that's everywhere you can find knowledge everywhere. My wife is a doctor.
Physician.
Yes, she's a physician. She meets people that can easily go online. They come to her. We were online. We knew that when you do that and that and that, you will have a baby girl. But finally, they have a boy.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. They come and say, we knew that when we do things these days and these days, we will not get pregnant. And they get pregnant. She keeps telling them, why are you doing that? Why you just go read things and use it? And they do that because it's available. So we are talking about
the quality of knowledge.
Yeah. And we are talking about responsibility here. We are talking about social responsibility. We are talking about cause before everything. We have a responsibility towards our community. Much more than you imagine of information that's everywhere. People are using it while they don't even understand what it is about. This is one of our most important role to protect our people from this.
I agree. And it's a very important point that the quality of knowledge is now becoming much more difficult to ascertain compared to old days when before you receive that knowledge, it had gone through a lot of reviews. Right now, anyone can basically write anything on the internet and it becomes part of the knowledge that we face. But anyway, that again adds another responsibility on the university. And I think that, Jeanne, you had something to say? Yeah. So.
Well, I also believe media, digital technology is very important. Okay, I believe it. But I am very unhappy with the conclusion that we have to train all the teachers and all the professors in using media in learning. So I am very unhappy with this conclusion because I think by doing that, you focus in your university really on using technology. And again, I only believe in using technology if you start from thinking about formulating a strategy, from formulating a vision about how is learning changing or how can we change learning methods, learning methodologies, knowing that indeed there is a lot of new technology. This is another way of thinking. I am very unhappy if you start with teaching technology, because indeed then you focus on using technology, and that's not the right way. Start with thinking about how can we change learning, taking into account the new world of our students that are entering with a lot of digital knowledge. And of course, in that case, then you can decide on training of professors, of teachers, when necessary.
Okay. So yes, I think it's I think it's a very powerful point also here that maybe we don't want our teachers to focus on technology, but let me also say something here, that each one of us as an individual go about life with what I would call a toolbox. Each one of us has a toolbox. And in your life, as a person, you start acquiring tools to put them in this toolbox. Acquiring a tool in the toolbox doesn't mean that you have to use it every single day or you have to use it for every single purpose. But you have to have certain tools. And I think an expert is not a person that you open his toolbox or her toolbox and find 2 tools and say, you know, he's an expert. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe you need to acquire more tools, not to be obsessed with it, not to use the hammer in everything and every task in your life because you got the hammer and the hammer looks good. No, it's a toolbox. You put it in the toolbox when you need it, you just bring it, use it, and put it back where it belongs. So with that maybe frame of mind, I would say that not every professor, but I would say that every individual needs some sort of media awareness and media expertise in his or her daily life nowadays. It's becoming a must because, look, you are now exactly like the President of the United States. The guy used the Twitter to send his mind. And you have the same tool exactly.
Okay.
This has never been the case before. Before, the president of a country like the United States got all the tools and you got nothing. If he says something about you, you cannot respond. Go and look at Trump website, Trump Twitter. Look how he gets smashed every single day when he says something. Look at the responses. Look how powerful we became. So power without wisdom of using the power can corrupt. So my advice personally is that each and every one of us needs some sort of media awareness because it's a power and it is available and it is in your hand and it needs some wisdom in dealing with it. That's not to say anything against that we should not convert our professors to entertainers or media people. But also on the same token, I would say we should not make them ignorant of media and the current tools that they need to be effective in their work.
I have an example, if I may.
Yes.
1 minute. Well, about 20 years ago, then in the high schools, students or learners must learn to use with Microsoft Office. Why? Because this was a regulation from the government, because it's normal that when these high school students come into the professional world, they must be prepared to do their job. Okay? So this was the reason, and government asked all the schools to introduce in their curriculum the study of Microsoft Office in Belgium. Okay, then I had the initiative in our university, so we were teaching all the teachers, we were training all the teachers in using Microsoft Office, and they had to come. That's what you told us. It is not necessary to push them all. No, not for this media, but in that time it was needed.
It was a must.
So when in case that in the university there is a need, for example, if you say, okay, Trump is using Twitter, so everybody must know Twitter, so we will organize a course in using Twitter. Okay. And then, of course, you have to train your professor in Twitter. Sorry for this.
Yes, I would say, yes, that would be a good idea anyway, but they are all good trained in this. So I will take some last questions and then we conclude this session by, a concluding remark from each one of our guests, like 1 minute or 2 minutes. So if you have a last question or a comment or something you want to share with us, that would be the opportunity of the day. So any questions? Yes?
My question is not necessarily related to what has just been discussed.
Let's go for the question.
About the quality checkup in the foundation university, especially here in Turkey. Is there any regulatory body other than Turkish Higher
Are there any Turkish body that deals with quality in the higher education in Turkey? I mean, Dr. Esra can elaborate, but I would say yes, there is. There is an organization called UKAK, led by one of our friends, Dr. Muzaffar Ilmas, and he is one of the speakers in our upcoming conference. And I think, Dr. Esra, also you've worked with the institution, so you can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, they're just visiting all the foundation universities and also state universities. They have a list, guidelines, and they just check everything accordingly. I mean, so this is not an inspection, but just to help the universities to somehow improve themselves. And apart from that, related with the quality, definitely foundation universities are also working under YÖK principles. So it means that whatever the principles that we have for state universities, we have the same for foundation universities. I mean, but the quality of education depends mostly on the quality of the lecturers, the number of lecturers, how many lectures they are giving, you know, how much workload they have as students and profs. So, I mean, it's much more complicated issue, but yes, we are under the rules of YÖK for the quality, for financial aspects, for all these management, governance, etc. And we have a separate body for just dealing with quality, and all the participants of the teams are doing this on voluntary basis.
Yes. But it's unfortunate that it's not only in Turkey, but also globally, you can see that there is a lot of emphasis on the quality indicators, not the quality, the reality of the quality. So people are becoming very efficient in documenting things, but not necessarily measuring the actual quality. And that takes us also to the area of ranking. What does it mean to say that university number 500 is, for example, University of Hasselt in Belgium, and University 501 is a university in Turkey? There are two different situations, two different human beings, two different cultures, two different budgets, two different regulations, two different everything. How would you say, I mean, why do we do this vertical ranking? What does it really mean? When you say that you are University 500 and this is University 501, what does that really mean? Now it becomes a trick, it becomes a marketing trick. When we were talking about media, there is a body, there's something called Web Matrix. Are you familiar with Web Matrix? Web Matrix rank universities based on the website of the university. Yeah, God. How would you relate the website of a university to the quality of the university? How is these two things can relate to each other? It only takes a $10,000 and you can create a marvelous website for a university that does not even exist. And we have now, this is one of the things that people compete on. The universities compete on where are we on Web Matrix? Are we on 2,000, 3,000, 5,000? It's a website. It has really nothing to do with the student. It has nothing to do with the quality of the person coming out. So I agree with my friend here that it's very dangerous to only fall in the trap of reporting quality. You need to really, really measure the impact of this quality. You need an index. You need something like the hotel industry, and I'm sorry to bring this example. Something that says that if you are a 5-star hotel, you're a 5-star hotel. It doesn't matter if the next one is a 5-star hotel. You could have in the city 100 5-star hotels, as long as you fulfill certain criteria. Take the intelligence, the emotional intelligence, the IQ. The IQ, when the IQ says that I am 100, it doesn't make anybody above, or it doesn't rank people. It just says that this is your level. And we need to move into something like this that actually measure quality, not only measure quality indicators. So unless there is any other question, I will go for
I can just say one word. I mean, awareness and consolidation are two different things related with
awareness
and consolidation of the quality. So maybe, as I said before, starting from some point is important. Just all these bodies related with quality, and they really make you aware of something. This is even important for starting from the very beginning. Okay. But consolidation, it really takes time, and it's a much more comprehensive thing. It's not only just the rules, as you said.
So before we take your comment, Jeanne, let's take the last question here, if there is any last question. If there's no questions, we start with, we'll do that later. So we'll start with Jeanne. She will have her 2 minutes.
It's also about that quality. So maybe
so we'll go this way.
Maybe a very important role for the foundation is indeed to deliver a general model. We have general models to measure quality. But these general models must be customized to the country, but especially to the specific university, because the university has to define themselves the quality indicators and measure their quality with these indicators. This is a very nice project if you want to do this in the foundation.
We hope we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other points you want to make too?
Yeah, really.
Thank you.
What now?
Concluding remarks.
My concluding remarks. I think the concluding remarks from me is more towards the Smart University Foundation. I think the Smart University Foundation has a great opportunity to bundle all the needs of a large community of universities, and also help the universities not to be so scared of any ranking or any impact factor of any funny journal. That is important, but it's not the most important need which needs to be solved. And so what I would appreciate is, and I hope that we will have also the chance later on to interact with people in the audience, that we can share the general expectation, like what are the immediate needs on your table, which you are looking for the Smart University Foundation to help you with, because the times are great for sharing. That's my concluding remark.
I think I have already said everything that I want to say. Definitely there are lots of things to be discussed, but I just really thank you for all to be here and to be here just to discuss all these issues, because learning is the basic of all things that we are doing, all the jobs, everything. So learning and teaching are the most important concept maybe that we have to define and deal with it in the next few years and maybe the whole life. So I just thank once again for, do we have another session or we are just concluding it? Okay, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone here for this long day, just sitting up for this long time. This is very good. Yeah. I just want to finish by saying that we, as Smart University Foundation, has an initiative called Media Initiative, and we are going to work very hard to help universities and professors and to improve their work. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, he's a media guy, like until the last second he is promoting. So, my time to also promote something. I would say that Smart University Foundation is an idea that, and an initiative and a project that we hope that will be useful to universities. But I would conclude today by reminding myself and all of us here that we go about life doing basically three things. We learn, we relearn, and we unlearn. And the most difficult thing in life is to unlearn. So it's very good if we can learn from the beginning right and relearn what we learned right and struggle with unlearning some of the bad habits and knowledge and experiences that we acquired throughout our lives. The university is such a magnificent thing in human experience, and I think we are all should be very fortunate that we are somehow associated with universities. Thank you all for being here, and we are looking forward to meeting you again in other activities in Smart University Foundations or any other activities that relates to universities. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.